Well, in the previous video, we had a quick intro to Yosemite Valley and the cliffs that surround it. In this one, we'll take a look at some hiking trails that allow you to get up close and enjoy the landscape. The first one I would like to talk about is the 4 mile trail. That's the most dramatic one right here. And this starts at the South Side Drive for Yosemite Valley at about 4,000 feet height, and then you can see that it switches back and forth through this part first, allowing you to look at views of the valley on the west side, and then this long stretch here before it starts looking on the east side and climbing steeply all the way to Glacier Point. You can enjoy the same views, but gradually as you climb higher and higher, about 3,000 to 4,000 feet. And then you hit Glacier Point, where you see a lot of people enjoying the views without having done any work whatsoever. Let's quickly turn on the terrain view to see how it looks. Yeah, there it is. So that climbs from the valley to Glacier Point. Another popular trail is the Mist Trail, that also is part of the trail to get you to Half Dome. So let's take a look at that one. And that starts at Happy Isles Nature Center. So that is here. And it's a popular trail to get to Nevada Falls and Via Vernal Falls. So it skirts around the base of Half Dome, which you can see is right here. So it goes around that big rock massif. It stays level until it gets to Vernal Falls, right here. So Vernal Falls you don't see in this view, so let me turn on satellite view to actually see the falls. Yeah, there you can see that's Vernal Falls, and from the foot of the Vernal Falls you can see a series of steps. Yeah, probably not in this view. I'll try and intersperse some photographs to give you an idea of the trail. Okay, here you can see there on the right hand side of this wall. This could be a dangerous trail in the early part of the season, because the volume of water that falls is quite high, and it rises back from the floor, covering this entire canyon in mist. And the stone steps that have been cut on this side become very, very slippery and dangerous, particularly when going down. So that's something that people keep in mind, and those that want to get to Half Dome and don't want to take the risk of the slipperiness actually take the John Muir Trail that goes around that section and gets to Clark Point here using this stretch, which is part of the John Muir Trail. On top of Vernal Falls is this Emerald Pool, which is part of the water that comes down from Nevada Falls. So let's take a look here. So the trail continues through the section to the bottom of Nevada Fall, and then there you climb Nevada Falls to the left here in this section. So this is a little bit away from the water, so this is not as slippery as the Mist Trail near Vernal Falls. And the reward for climbing here is that you get to the top of Nevada Falls and enjoy looking down below. And that could be a nice little day trip, but for those with more serious intent, the idea of climbing Half Dome, you get to relax a little bit, where you cross this section, which is known as Little Yosemite Valley. There's also a campground here, so those who do not want to do this as a day trek could backpack and camp here overnight and then get to Half Dome the next day. But most people do the whole thing as a day trip. The advantage of doing it that way is you don't have to carry any weight on your back. But it can be a very, very long day with a 16-mile round trip. zoom back to see, yes, so this is Half Dome. So in order to climb Half Dome, you continue along this valley, and at some point you make a sharp left turn. I'm going to switch back to map view to make sure I don't get lost. So you cross Little Yosemite Valley, and then there's a trail that continues all the way for 200 miles to Mount Whitney, but we are not going to talk about that now. We are talking about this stretch here where you get to Half Dome. And it makes another sharp left turn here, and then this is the steep section, which is where you traverse the bulk of the elevation distance. Let's switch back to satellite mode to get a good look at what is at stake here. So there you go. So that is Half Dome's view from the other side, from the east side. And after having reached this point, first you have to cross the subdome, which is quite steep, but not quite as steep as the final section, which is here, the infamous cable section, which is this stretch. It's almost like a 45-degree angle with almost nothing to hold on to. So in the summer, the park officials lay cables here, and there are wooden slats that have been nailed to the granite to help you get a toe hold, not a foothold, just a toe hold. And you have to use the cables, and your upper body weight has to be supported by your arms while you climb this. It can be done by those without a fear of heights, but in the summer weekend it gets quite crowded and becomes very dangerous. But the reward for climbing here is almost like a level football field size flat area here, can hold hundreds of people, and sometimes it does hold people who are stranded by fog or conditions that prevent them from going down. So there have been helicopter rescues of people stranded here. But once you get here, you get a totally different view of the valley and everything else, which you cannot get unless you do the hard work of climbing Half Dome. Yeah, you can enjoy looking at Glacier Point, which is here, at all the people who drove to where they are when you have spent about 8 to 10 hours climbing to this point. And there are the familiar sights. You can see El Capitan in the distance, and North Dome, and you can also look the other way at Clouds Rest right behind you.